On today's show, we head out to Sydney Motorsport Park in Western Sydney for the opening round of the 2021 Australian Motor Racing Series presented by Magnolia Capital. Today we feature the Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Cars, the Motorsport Sales Enduro Champs, Australian Formula Ford, Australian Formula 3 and the New South Wales Production Sports and Super GT 4-hour Enduro. This is Speedweek.
I'm Kylie King. Welcome to Magnolia Capital, round one of the Australian Motor Racing Series. This weekend we're at Sydney Motorsport Park, and what a destination for our season opener, because some races will be happening under lights. Think glowing disc brakes and exhaust flames, especially heading into turn one. It will all add to the atmosphere and the action. To tell us more, we say g'day to our series manager, Matt Baragwana. What an exciting addition to the series Racing Under Lights.
Oh, Kylie, can I tell you how excited we are about being here this weekend? We've worked very hard in the off-season to obviously be able to produce this event here this weekend. We've got some fantastic categories with a combined grid of Super GT and New South Wales Prodsports cars of 19 cars, which is just fantastic. We're very excited. TA2, again, the 19 or so cars with them. National Formula Ford Series, the debut of the Enduro Champs category here as well. So we're very excited to be able to deliver that here this weekend. And what we're even more excited about is tonight's night race, both for GT and TA2, as you very rightfully say. To see some of those glowing disc brakes down going into turn one tonight, we're very excited.
Well, there's plenty to get through this weekend. Let's get into the action.
And what a fantastic venue this is to open up an incredible new 2021 Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Car Series, Sydney Motorsport Park, and Brian van der Wacker. These cars are going to eat this place alive.
They certainly will, Wade. It's been a long wait to finally get to this stage, but here we are, Sydney Motorsport Park. The wait is finally over, but let's learn a little bit more about this particular category.
That magnificent sound as they storm down into turn one. Look at that field. It is absolutely jammed. This is on. They all look so fat, these things, and I mean PHAT. The TA2 Muscle Car Series, thumping.
It's the same spec car. Every car is identical underneath the body. Costs are down because of that. We can bulk buy from our suppliers. We've got guys that have come from all different categories that have come to TA2 because they can understand the cost savings involved with the same spec cars. It's not who's got the most money can win. It's who's the best driver, who's the best team to set up a car. These cars have been raced in America for a number of years as a similar package to this. We took all of the good parts out of that and added a more cost-effective engine, which is now made by McLaren. McLaren build all of our engines for our TA2 cars now.
They'll do 3 years on the current engine combo if they're maintained and looked after well. The gearboxes, diffs, everything's built to last. I mean, as long as you look after the stuff as well as you can racing the car, they're very durable. They're purpose-built for what they do.
I'll tell you, there's not one guy gets in one of these cars that complains about the horsepower or the bang for buck. I can tell you, everybody gets out with a smile on their face.
Yeah, we've got a brand new purpose-built spares truck that carries tyres, diffs, gearboxes, engines, all auxiliary components that are required, taken to all tracks and all rounds that we currently have on our combo.
I think TA2 racing is one of the best kept secrets in Australian motorsport. Very, very easy to get into. They are fantastic cars. And one of the great things, it's a big bang for buck. It's noisy, it's fast, it's fun and cheap.
We've signed up with Chaz Howard now for another 10 years of supply of motor vehicles. We're now taking TA2 to New Zealand. We have a contract with the New Zealand guys there. They're starting to pick up on TA2 cars, so we hope to do some trans-Tasman competition, as well as inviting the Kiwi drivers over to race at our events and vice versa. So 2021, we're looking forward to some good meetings and lots of cars out on track.
They look, they sound and they feel fantastic. The TA2 Muscle Car Series, and it was all about Nathan Hearn, this whiz kid from Lismore, setting the fastest time in qualifying by over a second in a borrowed car. Hello, Brian. How good is this kid?
Incredible, wasn't it? It's his second pole in the category. His last one dating back to October in 2020 at Sandown as part of the Victorian State of Origin event. Not only that, he picks up a cool $500 thanks to PWR Performance Products and, of course, the Pole Award. Let's catch up with him now after that incredible effort in qualifying.
Yeah, it's been good. To have an opportunity to jump into Rusty's car is good. To any time I can get my bum in the seat is always a good time. So it's a good team to be a part of, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend. Hopefully we can last for the 30-minute race tonight and see how we go.
Let's take a look at highlights of race number 1 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. I love these rolling starts, and just listen to this when they take off. Oh, that does strange things to me, Brian. What a magnificent sound as we unleash them down into turn 1.
It's going to be something, isn't it? A long race ahead for these drivers. The opening race of the weekend, got to get the cobwebs out as well. It's been a long off-season, but here we are, already action deep in the pack.
Squirming around on the Hoosiers, Max Dumsney, Australian motorsport legend, provides the racing rubber for these cars. We're on board the motorsport sales entry, the 40 car of Nash Morris. And this kid is going to ruffle a few feathers, I reckon, this weekend.
I think so. We saw him in the thick of action a moment ago, and here he is once again looking down the inside, making another move up through the field, making his debut in the category this weekend. Of course, the son of a gun, Paul Morris, former Bathurst 1000 winner, also winner of the 12-hour and 6-hour too. But I tell you what, he's got some great techniques, doesn't he? Back on board again as cars going literally everywhere at the moment, Wayne.
So good to watch. They squirm, they've got a lot of horsepower, they've got minimal aero. It's just a fantastic concept, this TA2 Muscle Car Series. We go on board with Nash. He squirms up the inside of the 21 car of Zach Luscialpo. And this has been a stirring drive for Nathan Hearn, looking solid in race 1. We kind of expected that. Borrowed car, and what a drive in race 1. Is this the trend for the weekend? So day goes into night here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and it is race number 2 of the Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Car Series. Brian van der Wacker joining me. These cars, there is so much to love about them. We're on board there with Mark Crutcher. Big cockpits, big engines, big tyres, plenty of action.
It's going to be great, isn't it? And how good do the cars look under lights as we have a look at the starting grid for race number 2. The results of race 1 as well. Nathan Hearn to start from pole, Tim Shaw alongside him. That's going to be a great battle into turn 1.
I've been following this category since it started. I've got to say, I've never seen a better looking field this year. Everybody has put in a massive effort. Cool to see Barry Kelleher in this field as well. A former Speedway late model sedan driver and also pretty handy on a road racing motorbike. The veteran enjoying the class. Here's the extreme opposite. Nash Morris, the teenager, about to have a rip in a class field under lights. It looks like the Singapore Grand Prix, Brian.
Just about, not quite the glitz and the glamour though, isn't it? As we rear into turn number 1, 17 laps. And look at this, on board already with Cheney through turn number 1, down into turn number 2. Gets his way up into second there. Great start though once again from Nathan Hearn.
Good field. You're watching race 2, round 1. The championship, of course, heads in April, mid-April, to Morgan Park in Queensland, where it's also had a fair bit of excitement in the past. But on board with Anthony Tenkate in the Tenkate plant hire. Number 69, can't see them squirm under load. Hearn has bolted. No real surprises there. Tim Shaw has been solid. He finished up in second in race number 1. Here he is, driving a borrowed car. Unfortunately, the car owner, a bit of a crash before Christmas on a bike. And he got in the car from the weekend, but thought, I don't feel comfortable in the car, Russell. I'm going to give it to someone like Nathan Hearn to wheel it. And hasn't he grabbed that opportunity?
It's incredible, isn't it, how he just steps in and drives the thing and takes pole position, and then obviously the opening race as well. And now already streaking the field here in race number 2. Shaw already having to be defensive. I tell you what, the pack is starting to really bunch up behind Shaw in this battle for second spot.
Just the sound, it just does it. The cars look oh, hello! Last of the late breakers, as the great Luffy would say from back in the day. Warren Luff's very famous dad always used to say, the last of the late breakers, Ian Luff. They just look great under lights. I know what you said about not quite the glitz and glamours of Singapore Grand Prix, but it sounds better.
Yeah, true. It does certainly sound better. You're 100% right as we ride on board again here with Nash Morris, the run to turn 1. Looking for the slipstream here as well. Thinks about it. Might be a little bit too far back here for the lunge down the inside. Look at the car squirming as he fights the wheel through turn number 1. The long left-hander here. He's stuck in a bit of a pack here, but he's looking towards the inside again. We're almost 3 wide here for a moment. Contact as well. Geez, the elbows are out early here. Michael
Coulter under enormous pressure from Nash Morris. There's the Tempest Solutions, number 21 of Zach Lasciolpo. We look back on board Michael Coulter, and he's got a mirror full of a very enthusiastic young Queenslander who looks now to the inside, back to the outside. It's a busy race. Race number 2, under lights. I think Nash is keen.
Keen to say the least, isn't he, as he comes through the back of the circuit here and down the wall. Oh no, they make contact, and unfortunately Coulter collects the inside wall. I can't help but thinking maybe there was a little bit of a helping hand there as well. Heavy damage to the left-hand side of that race car too.
The Capelco entry in the tyre bundles. Nash Morris continuing on in the motorsport sales entry. Let's look at the replay here. This is the start. This is Tim Shaw. I love the telemetry too. Have a look at the speed. Climbing up to 180 kilometres an hour into turn 1 off the start. Thank you very much. Shaw went back to 3rd on that. We'll take a look at your Promaxx replay. Now, what's this going to tell us?
Not much, does it? Just on the outside of the shot there, but look at this contact. Heavy impact there with the tyre barrier on the left. Right on board here with Nash. This will give us a little bit more of an understanding as to what happened. Coulter on the outside, on board here with Nash. There's a bit of a case to answer there, I think, to say the least, for Nash Morris. Riding on board here with Coulter. Good shot here of the rear. You might even be able to hear the dink here in a moment. There it is. And listen to this impact. Oh, it sounds nasty, doesn't it?
Yeah. Michael, he'd be as dark as the car park right now because that was an unload crutcher in that very cool looking 4-car. Oh, I'm not kidding, they all look cool. Steve Lacey, I do love the purple Dodge. The Wagner entry, the Wagner Corp Dodge looks absolutely mint as we go on board the Has Soul Motorsport number 27 of Graham Smith. You made a point earlier on, they don't have headlights, these cars, but the lighting is so good here at Sydney Motorsport Park, they kind of don't need them.
That's right, they're like a race car with stickers, aren't they? We know that's saved from NASCAR, obviously. We do have the brake lights, though, in these cars. You'll see them light up on the way to turn number 2. Riding on board here with Graham Smith.
Do you think we saw them on Morris's car? Really? I'm not sure that Nash had the brake lights on at that point. Smith into turn 1. We looked at that before. 200 k's an hour. If you look down that bottom right-hand corner, 200 at the end of this enormous straightaway at Sydney Motorsport Park. Oh, Lacey! A little aggressive, locked him up, and if she turned hard right, that would have been an interesting view for Smith behind him.
What a shame there for Lacey, making his debut in the category this weekend. Normally runs in the New South Wales Sports and ends in that beautiful yellow Chevrolet Camaro, so a little bit of a different car here for him at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, he's driving, of course, to the Peter Robinson entry. This will look great on the replay. Have a look at this for Graham Smith's perspective. He's barreling down into turn 2, and all of a sudden, he sees Lacey go to the inside hard on the brakes, and then, oh, that was close.
That's one of the difficult things about these TA2 cars, trying to get them stopped. They move around a lot under brakes. You can just see he probably just pinches the rear tyres a little bit. And around he goes down there at turn number 2. He's going to lose a bunch of time from that as well.
Peter Robinson would have been here driving that car, but they've got some big plans at the moment with the Wagner family, the Wellcamp Entertainment Precinct, $175 million project, including a motorsport driving facility and entertainment area as well. It's going to be huge. Look out. Nash Morris ripping up the inside here.
What a charge he's on at the moment. Didn't get the best start, did he? He's been in a little bit of carnage and controversy so far in this race as well, but he's making his way up through the field then, getting past Lachappo. Lachappo's going to look sort of back toward the inside here, not quite though enough, and Morris...
Oh! He gave it back to him though, out of that turn. So Lachappo not going to be an easy contender here. Was there a sale on green paint, do you think, at the start of the season, Brian? There's a lot of mean-looking green.
Green's normally an unlucky colour for a race car, isn't it? But they're not doing too bad at the moment. I tell you someone who's doing a really nice job in this race at the moment, Anthony Tencoat. We're right on board with him at the moment. Started in position number 9, making his way up towards the top 5 here at the moment as well. So this 69 car doing a really good job so far in this second race, but he's got some traffic here in front of him right now.
Oh, that sound. Just listen to this.
This is where the battle started.
How's the wheel work?
Yeah, I know.
There too.
With Lachappo. So Morris gets down the inside here in the run to turn number 1. I just love the sound. Look at it. Up on the wheel here through turn number 1. Then obviously there was a bit of afters down there at turn number 2 as well.
I'd love to see the dude in the Enforcer analyse that that race pass earlier on the earlier incident in the Cabelco entry.
Issues here for Lachappo. He's pulling in. Unfortunately, and I'm hearing possibly that it might be a gear shift issue in that car, so frustration and disappointment for Zach Lachappo, doing such a nice job running inside the top 5, but unfortunately he's out of this one, and that gives another spot here now to Anthony Tencoat as well.
April coming up, April 16 to 18, going to be a massive weekend for the second round of the AMRS, which doubles, of course, as the Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Cars Series round number 2, and Morgan Park is a great little circuit for these cars. Tencoat on the hammer down to this right-hander just here. Great looking car.
He's been sort of one of the stalwarts in the category, of course. Anthony Tencoat been there really since day dot. Made his debut in the category back in 2017 at Lakeside, round number 1 for that particular year. Can't get enough of Nash Morris at the moment, can you? Certainly making headlines here for the opening round of the TA2 series for 2021.
I'm sure that Michael Coulter can get enough of him, but no, he's certainly putting on a show like his old man. We love a bit of colour and a bit of controversy. He always goes hand in hand with the Morris family, and the dude will be saying, what was the problem?
Gotta love the Morris family, don't you? They've had some history in Australian motorsport over the years, and Nash Morris will certainly follow that trend in the years to come.
17 years of age, having a fair crack. Came out of Hyundais, I'm pretty sure. Interesting kind of way to morph into TA2 muscle cars. Listen to that sound. We're right on board with the Teenage Ranger here. The motorsportsales.com.au entry. Can he make that stick? Oh, there was contact then again. Well, that was interesting. So, at least there's plenty of room to fire off onto the lawn. But Cheney will be filthy.
It'd be dark as what, Wade? 2 a.m?
As the car park right now at Sydney Motorsport Park. But, well, that's at 200 k's an hour too, mind you.
Fastest board of the racetrack. Here it is on board from Nash Morris. Little tag in the rear. And because these cars are so light sometimes under brakes, they move so much in the rear end, it doesn't take much to spin these cars around. You can see just the lightest of taps on board here. Now with the 51 as well. Oh, just got the wheel work. And around he goes. Listen to it as well as he goes back down the gears too.
Fortunately, there's a fair bit of runoff down there in turn 1 on the grass, but well, it is all happening. We now check out the 66 car of Tim Shaw. He's under a fair bit of pressure now from a young man who's fairly charging. And the teenager has a look up the inside as well. Hold on tight, Tim. You're in the crosshairs.
This could be anything, couldn't it, as they work their way back down the main straight. Morris just off the edge of the racetrack there as well. Tim Shaw, the only Tasmanian car in the field for round number 1 here. He last competed at Sandown, believe it or not. Really the only event he could do last year, being Tasmanian. Obviously a lot of restrictions regarding borders last year. I tell you what, he's doing a nice job at the moment. He's having to hold off one of the hardest young chargers in the field right now. Shaw locks up, opens the door. Morris, thank you very much. It's like Christmas Day straight down the inside.
All we need is Tony Longhurst to be out there for Nash as well, and we can really relive some history. So nice job on that particular occasion. And the youngster sweeping down to this right-hander. We'll have a look at our Promaxx replay as you picked. Shaw got a little bit loose under brakes, squirmed. Just watch it go deep into the corner here and then lock up and then straight through. That's just pressure is what that is. Pressure from Morris. Nice clean pass on that occasion.
But here we go, half a lap to go. Nathan Hearn, what a tremendous drive again, mate.
His kid is his dad, I should say, is one of the all-time greats of V8 dirt modified racing, Stuart the Hitman Hearn. And this kid is amazing. The S5000 situation with Gary Rogers Motorsport, he drives the Trans Am for them as well. It was one of the hottest properties in Australian motor racing. Oh yeah, look at that for a little bit of tail out as well. And runs it home. Oh, I guess we're not looking after the tyres for the final race.
What a drive. Nathan Hearn gets the win. His 13th win in the category. Believe it or not, the margin of victory is near enough to 40 seconds back to Nash Morris. A wonderful drive. Morris will get his best result in the category in position number 2, not without drama though.
Will he though?
Yeah.
I wonder whether the officials might take a bit of a dim view of the enthusiasm, but hey, right now, if it ships, it fits. Nice job. Hearn, Morris, Shaw, 10K, Graham Smith, Chris Pappas, Murray Kent, Graham Cheney maybe to get himself back up there as well. It was all happening in race 2 for the Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Cars.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was awesome. It's been a privilege to drive this car. I mean, you know, coming from my car where, you know, you muscle around and it's a real soft car and you drive one of these things, it's feels a lot like a supercar, this thing to drive, so it's a real breeze to drive. You know, I mean, credit to Rusty and his team for setting up a car like this. It's one of the best cars I've driven, and yeah, you know, it's a real privilege to be down here this weekend, and I'm just glad I could get a good result for Rusty Wright Racing.
So after all the excitement on the Saturday night, the boys were back at it again Sunday morning for race 3 and race 4, and that is the Begg-owned Nash Morris car. The boys were having at it back on a beautiful Sunday morning. What better way to start your Sunday than the sound of a throaty field of V8s in TA2 Muscle Cars. Now, Smith, unfortunately, loops it right up the front too, Brian, and fortunately got missed. That could have been ugly.
Running third at the time, wasn't he? Nathan Hearn, though, another brilliant start in the Russell Wright-owned number 55 machine, but a little bit of drama here, though, Wade.
A little bit of drama. This is Cheney and Shaw. Now, there's several touch-ups here and then. That's a massive, massive impact. So between Cheney and Shaw, two totally impacted race cars, which brought out the safety car, which basically handed the win to Nathan Hearn. So another win for him, and it set up an exciting 4th and final race for the weekend in round 1 of the Promaxx Performance Exhaust TA2 Muscle Car Series.
So it's right off the pole, Morris alongside him on the front row as they went into turn number 1. And it was great, wasn't it? This battle for position number 1. Morris working over the race leader, and just around the back of Corporate Hill, down the inside, Nash Morris, his debut weekend in the category, fights for the race lead, ultimately gets the job done. And look at this, not much Nathan could do around the outside there. He had the inside line here for the right-hand hairpin, but Morris was just brilliant around the outside.
A lot of talk that Nathan Hearn actually went for only 4 tyres for the weekend. Nash went to, well, as he is wont to do, 6 tyres. It may have been a bit of a difference, but Nash was superb in that 4th and final race. And look at him, he's absolutely elated, the young man. His debut win here in TA2.
Yeah, thank you. It was real good. First time racing here at TA2 Racing Australia. Yeah, had a good time. You know, I didn't think I'd be that far up the grid, but, you know, I'm happy with it.
Oh, look, we had a quick car all weekend, so it's a credit to the right team. You know, it was a privilege to drive our car this weekend, and I'm honoured that I got the chance to drive this weekend.
Fantastic stuff from the TA2 Muscle Car Series. Can't wait for their next round at Morgan Park on April 16 and 18. We'll take a break here. When we come back, it's time for the 2021 Motorsport Sales Enduro Champs action, so don't go away. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park, and it is time for Enduro Champs action. Brian van der Wacker, a cracking weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and a compact but exciting field for this one.
4 one-hour races for the Enduro Champs this weekend, and looking forward to this one. Grant Sharon will start the Sharon Rentals BMW from position number 1 by virtue of winning the opening race of the weekend. Some teams and drivers running a 2-driver combination as well. They're splitting that over the course of the 4 races. Grant Sharon in the car for this one. Tim Lay in the car. He will share that as well with Beric Linton over the course of the weekend. We're going to start on board here with Tim Lay as well.
Some of these guys have been around the sport a long, long time. Plenty of experience, Berwick Linton too, building a lot of the cars across the weekend. What a rocket ship start on the outside just then.
Great, wasn't it? And Tim Lay also making his way through the field. I tell you what, he had to stand on the anchors there for a moment to not hit the back of the Sharon Rentals BMW. So a big moment there off the start for Tim Lay. Lucky to get away with that one.
Remember too, this is highlights of a 1 hour race. That was fairly frantic. I always associate Berwick Linton with a BMW brand. Across the years, he's been heavily involved. Now, Camilleri in the Grand Prix, in the Mazda, is a fierce combination around this racetrack in particular.
Yeah, Jake Camilleri likes this particular track as well for that BMW car, the Grand Prix Mazda-backed Mazda 3. He's just sitting behind Tim Lade there at the moment as well, looking towards the inside here. He might be half a chance, not quite close enough, but being a front-wheel drive car and a little bit more performance in it, it does sometimes tend to hurt the front tyres, particularly around fast-flowing circuit like Sydney Motorsport Park. But these shorter, compact 1 hour races certainly does suit him.
On board with Lay. This thing is all sorts of a handful right now, early in the race. Corporate Hill, man, this thing has got his attention. Have a look at the wheel work. What a battle for third.
They're on the MRF tyres, and I know they've been struggling with the setup of this car all weekend, and that's absolutely, you can see that at the moment in this race. They certainly are struggling. Steve Ellery, now this is a great story because he's got his two sons racing with him this weekend.
Yeah, and I think it's really ignited Steve's passion for going racing again. He's been around the game a long time as well, and I say that with respect, one of the most experienced and capable drivers on any circuit, in any class, and having his boys race with him, that has got to be, I think, just igniting his fire a little further.
Yeah, Tristan and Dalton were nominated to run at the start of the weekend as well. Change for the lead, so Grant Sharon has taken over the race lead, and now Tim Lay is in hot pursuit in position number 2 as well. But of course, he's got to try and settle that race car down as they continue to struggle with the overall balance on those MRF tyres.
I like this. They're moving around quite a bit. That name Sharon is just iconic in Australian motor racing as well. Been around the game a long time. The investment that family have put into the sport over so many years cannot be underestimated as we look at that Berwick Linton entry with Lay behind the wheel and Camilleri still firing in that third spot.
Yeah, Grant and Sharon have done some miles together, haven't they? They absolutely love their car racing, and it's great to have them back at Sydney Motorsport Park as Jake Camilleri here working on the back, looking up to get into position number 3 here as well. They look towards possibly the insides. They go around the back of Corporate Hill. It's Volkswagen v Mazda at the moment. They work their way around the backside of the circuit. Nice little battle though, the top 4 pretty close already.
Yeah, UCell just there. Nice little job in that number 50 car, the V-Dub. Very potent little race car, no doubt about that. And that's an interesting battle. Gorgeous looking Sharon Rentals Beamer out in front from Lay in that Berwick Linton car, because we have co-drivers. That's the way that it works. We believe UCell is in that car right now, the Double J entry. The V-Dub under a lot of pressure now. Just watching to see whether Camilleri can make that run in the Mazda. He's openly admitted this is one of his favourite tracks, and it really does suit the Grand Prix Mazda.
Certainly does. Final 2 corners on the track here at the moment. The front-wheel drive car of that Mazda 3 will have possibly, if he gets a good drive out of here, a lunge towards turn number 1. If he gets the drive, not bad either. He'll sit in the slipstream here for a moment and try and maybe cut towards the inside at turn number 1. But the other opportunity is going to be down to turn number 2. But look at the legs on that Volkswagen, certainly pulling away down the main straight.
You're watching round 1 of the AMRS, the Australian Motor Racing Series. 6 rounds ahead of us. This is the opener here at Sydney Motorsport Park and motorsportsales.com.au. Enduro Champs now. Camilleri manages to squeeze through on the Volkswagen as they come out of turn number 2. And that's a nice run from him.
We mentioned turn 2 being a possible passing opportunity. That's exactly what happened. Riding on board here with Tim Lay. Getting up into second there a while ago, and then this was the move for position number 3. Camilleri down the inside, under brakes at the left-hander at turn number 2, and gets the job done. Now, we always talk about tyres. We spoke about them a moment ago being MRF on the Tim Lay car. Well, there's actually 4 different brands that these teams and drivers can actually use, because it's actually open for this particular class, the Enduro Champs. They can use any one of 4 of the R-Spec tyres from either Dunlop, Yokohama, MRF or Zeknova. So a nice opportunity there for the drivers to run what they feel, because a lot of these drivers do like, obviously, the different brands sometimes suit their cars better.
Once again, a big wriggle up from Lay, really pushing super hard. In fact, heading to the pits. So this is looking for a driver change at this point. In comes the Sharon car as well. we said, these are 1 hour enduros over the course of the weekend. And man, that was a fairly aggressive charge towards pit lane then from Tim Lay.
It was, wasn't it? So one compulsory pit stop in these 4-hour races. They don't have to do a driver change, but they will elect to later on in the weekend. So what they've done is they've actually nominated one driver pretty well for these opening 2 races, but we believe, particularly for races 2 and 3, they will actually split the driving duty. So it's all up to the teams as to what they particularly want to do. Good battle going on here at the moment, as well as Camilleri looks like he's come out behind the Burgess entry, the Mitsubishi Evo there. And back on board with Tim Lay. This car has been sideways the entire race. They're not wrong about struggling on the balance of this thing. Tim Lay is going to sleep well after this race because he has had his arms full with this BMW.
The Bruce Linton BMW service entry. Nice little scrap developing here. Burgess. You've also got Ucell in the middle of all this, and now Ellery. Gorgeous day for it here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Isn't it just so good to have some racing again? Oh, now was he saying thank you, or was that find yourself another way home? Either way, it was a fairly animated wave. Heading towards the business end of this Enduro Champs. Highlights of their 1 hour Enduros, all part of round 1 of the AMRS as well. And Magnolia Capital on board the sponsorship for the first round here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So big shout out to the folks at Magnolia Capital.
Yeah, great to have them on board. As you mentioned, as Ellery here works towards the inside at turn number 1. We have a look back now at Jake Camilleri as well in the Grand Prix Mazda 3 machine, working his way back down the main straight. So doing a nice job in this one so far as well. He's going to complete that compulsory pit stop as well. Back on board here with Tim Lay. Let's see if the balance is any better on this car as he works his way through the final 2 corners. Lay, see you later, son. He loops it, and there's a concrete wall there not too far away. I think he kept off it, but Tim Lay, right when he needed the talent, he ran out of it.
He broke a talent shaft. I can't believe that, Tim. All on his own. You can see the onboard gives it away. There's nobody within QE of him. Tim, dude, just what the actual?
The man from Orange, unfortunately. Great shot on the outside here. Our crew's catching this one. And around he goes. And we get to the sand trap here. I tell you what, he's lucky he actually gets out of this. And it's not too bad. So Tim Lay, I mean, wow. You got to count your luck sometimes. He was lucky to get away with that one. A, not to hit the wall that's on the outside there. B, not to get stuck in the sand trap too.
That car has been a handful right throughout this event. And Camilleri going, in fact, it's not Camilleri, it's Ucell now in the V-Dub, having a real crack at the BMW here. Have a go, son.
It's not wrong, is it? Back on board with the Ellery machine here in the run to turn number 1. Some high speed for these cars, isn't it? The Enduro Champs machines as they work their way through turn number 1.
It has been all one-way traffic for this team right now. The Sharon Rentals BMW just looks fantastic. The guys have done a very, very smooth job of it. Ellery was very good behind the wheel, just watching that onboard shot before, but this is a bit of a lonely ride out in front. Enduro Champs, race number 2 for the weekend, round 1 of 6 of the Australian Motor Racing Series, which heads to Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland, April 16 to 18, and get across the AMRS website and Facebook page as well for all the information. Distinctive livery, distinctive situation out in front for the Sharon boys.
Marge is near enough to 30 seconds from first back to second at the moment as well. So they've done an incredible job in this BMW M4. It's a tremendous car. They've had to work on it over the years. I remember when they started bringing this car out, they had a lot of engine dramas with it and overheating issues, but they've been able to work on it throughout the time, and now this is one of the leading contenders in the Enduro Champs for season 2021. Expect him to be strong as he comes out of the final turn.
Nice job here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The Sharon boys will rock it home. That is a substantial lead, as you pointed out just then, Brian. Checkered flag at the ready, and the Beamer rips home to record victory.
Take nothing away from Grant Sharon. A tremendous drive in the Sharon Rentals BMW takes out race number 2 of the Enduro Champs at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, definitely haven't raced for the whole 12 months. So last race was here exactly 12 months ago. So we rolled the car out of the truck last Friday and quickly got it ready and got it down here, and we had to do setup last night on it to get it where it is now. So it's handling quite well at the moment and it's performing quite good. So fingers crossed for the next 2.
So points as it stands at the moment after the opening round of the Motorsport Sales Enduro Champs. Barrett Linton, Tim Lay, by virtue of winning the round, they're on top of the points at the moment, 112, ahead of Jake Camilleri, 108. Jerry and Lee Burgess there at the moment as well, completing the top 5 on 105 points as well. We're going to go wings and slicks racing next for you here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Welcome back to round 1 of the Australian Motor Racing Series, thanks to Magnolia Capital here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And it's time now for the Australian Formula Ford Championship, Brian, a category that is tried and true. It has unearthed some of the biggest stars in Aussie motor racing.
It certainly has. It unearths the legends of Australian motorsport. None more so this weekend than the Richards name. Stephen Richards, his son Clay Richards, is taking part for the opening round of the Australian Formula Ford Championship. Let's catch up with him though right now.
Clay Richards, pretty new to Formula Ford. How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's good. It's a really fun category. Very, very competitive. And it's a lot different to karts in the past. So, yeah, no, it's great.
What have you had to get your head around most the quickest?
Definitely gear changes and also heel and towing as well. Those have been the biggest things.
And of course, you know, we see your dad Steve here and I guess grandfather Jim Richards. You've got a lot of input coming your way. Do you find that information helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's got to get all the help you can get in this series. So, no, they've been great and they've supported me throughout karting and into car racing as well. So, yeah.
How exciting. His granddad's one of the all-time greats, and his dad, well, a multiple Bathurst winner, an incredible Carrera Cup racer, Stephen Richards, and one of the most affable families in terms of legendary status. Just walk up and shake their hands. They're great people. Cool to see Clay out here. We know that this concept has unearthed some of the greatest motorsport talent Australia has ever produced. It's kind of the grounding. You come out of karts, you go into Formula Ford, and that's where you head to the big time.
Certainly is for the opening race of the weekend. It's a Colin Hill Engineering front row with Thomas Sargent and Noah Sands, Cody Bircher and Jake Donaldson on that second row. Watch for them. We turn over the page. Kyle Evans will start from position number 11 as well. So it's going to be a tough one to get right. 17 cars nominated for this weekend. 9 of them are rookies at national level. It's getting set to go for race number 1. Great start from Sargent on the inside front row. He will lead the field into turn number 1 for the first time as the Formula Fords file into turn number 1. On board here with Noah Sands, his teammate in behind. Got the head over the shoulder through the left-hander here at turn number 1. Slipstream is going to be ever so important. It helped Thomas Sargent in qualifying to the slipstream. We'll see what it does in this opening race of the weekend.
Always the imminent risk of jumping wheels as well. These open wheel cars, very narrow tyres. They're very precise in where you put them. Later on in the weekend, if you start to wear them out, they get a little bit skatey, but this is the purest form of open wheel racing in terms of your starting point beyond karts, and it's a proven testing ground, and so many teams too are iconic. Oh, look out, and that is how easily it can happen. The 71 car just looping it in that right-hander. No harm, no foul. Let's have a look back on the onboard at Noah Sands. That's a ripper shot.
Certainly is. There was 0.6 of a second, in fact, between Sargent and Sands in the qualifying session. Now, we mentioned the slipstream. If you can stick behind that slipstream going down the main straight, you might be half a chance a little bit later on the lap. Already, these Colin Hill Engineering cars are starting to put a little bit of a gap between themselves and the rest of the field. Keeping in mind, we've also got the Kent class here this weekend too.
That was John Pereira that unfortunately looped the 71, or half looped the 71 in the lone Van Diemen in the field. Van Diemen. Can't remember the last time I said the word Van Diemen. Very cool to have Johnny out there. Meanwhile, out in front, tremendous race with the top 5 or 6 at this point. Of course, you have domestic competition, you have state level racing, and then if you have the budget, you have the wherewithal, you go into the national competition, which is tuned up, of course, with the AMRS. Back on board with Sands. We pin it down low here into turn number 1. Exciting youngsters in this field. It was really cool a few years back too to see Leanne Tander return to this as well, because Thundersport has played a big part in Formula Ford racing as well. What a battle for the lead here.
Right underneath the gearbox, isn't he, at the moment? Noah Sands of your race leader, Thomas Sargent. Oh, he's a little bit sideways there on the change as they went through the right-hander. And there is also going to be a change here for second spot as well, possibly. So Sands stuck on the outside here. Cody Bircher in the 36 machine. The man from Orange, bit of a touch there as well. It was right rear to left front contact. And now the battle for second spot is 4 cars deep.
This is where you've got to be so careful. You get a little bit sideways, you miss a shift, and suddenly you've got cars climbing all over you. Let's look back at the replay here of Pereira, who just loops the 71, just got in a little hot and gathers it back up. Flat spot of the tyres pretty good, you'd have to imagine as well. You can just see that telltale mark on the rubber. He rejoins the field, however. This battle here is going to be a beauty. You cannot afford to make a mistake. There's 4 or 5 of them. Oh, look out! Big time agricultural on the main straightaway. That'll get your attention. These cars can swap ends in a heartbeat when you get out to the grass.
So Bircher here looking towards the inside now of Sands here into turn number 1. Not quite close enough this time by. He might be half a chance though as they get down into turn number 2. In this fight as well, the 35 machine just in behind of Jake Donaldson as well. Bircher now, contact between Donaldson and Sands. Sands has got the arm out the window as well. Not the window, out the cockpit I should say. Spins the car on the inside there at turn number 2, and there was heavy damage on the right front of Donaldson as well.
Yeah, Donaldson will be done for sure. You can just see him over there. Well, Sands rejoins the field. We talked about it earlier, the risk of open wheel contact, and these cars, whilst they're pretty nimble and pretty strong in some senses, when this happens, you're going to bend a component for sure. So this is where Sands gets into the corner. There's the contact right then. Oh man, even the ripple strips can do you a bit of damage if you're not careful. Noah will be dark about that, that's for sure. Here's another look at it. That was a good move to the inside. Fair bump play on here, the Tyre Power orange entry. But that's where Donaldson, the Draper Tools car, just tagged. As you said, Noah had his hand up like, that was great.
Yeah, so there's Jake jumping out of the 35 machine, trying to pull it in, but just got to have arms of steel to be able to do that as well. So watching back on through the field now as well as we ride and have a look at the number 60 machine here at the moment. Cody Donald doing a nice job there just outside and around that top 5 position right now. So Sands is going to be dark, unfortunately, as you mentioned, Wade. Jake Donaldson as well now out of this one. Keeping in mind they were both very, very strong in qualifying to start the weekend too, so a bit of disappointment for them. But of course now we're looking at this battle now for the top 5.
Round 1 of the AMRS presented by Magnolia Capital here at Sydney's Motorsport Park. And you're watching round 1 of the Australian Formula Ford Championship. This is the place where stars are made. It's where you learn your craft. It's where you learn about drafting. It's where you learn about being able to move around inside tight packs, battle packs. It's where you learn about keeping a car straight and keeping flow. And that is without a doubt a place that if you can be good in this, you can hopefully attract the attention of teams and start your international or your higher level domestic career in other forms of motor racing.
We talk about chassis in Formula Ford as well. Angelo Motorsport running the Kent class this weekend with Mitchell Gattenby. They're actually bringing a new chassis into the national category, the Spirit WL07. So a Spirit joining the likes of the Spectrum, the McGall chassis, as well as Van Diemen, to say a few. So interested, I guess, for Gattenby and for the entire team there to get an understanding as to the feel of this car and what it's going to do throughout the course of the season as well. Mitch, as we said, competing in the Kent class this weekend and leading it so far.
You need to be perfect in every other part of this racetrack because this extremely long main straightaway can be heartbreaking. If you lose a bit of ground, the top part of the racetrack, it takes forever to catch it back. These cars are extremely equal in their horsepower. It really does come back to the driver and also to the setup as well. This is a nice little battle we got rolling here as well. Gotta be careful, that would be the Shannon's Insurance 14 of Clay Richards. Without even having to check the paperwork, Shannon's Insurance have been wonderful partners with Stevie Richards and also Jim with his Targa racing and with his Porsche racing as well. Oh, is that Pereira again possibly in the 71? It is.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're back towards the rear of the field in the Kent class there for Pereira. To tell you what, it stands out, doesn't it, with the fluoro orange. But here's Thomas Sargent through the second to last quarter for the final time in the Colin Hill Engineering. He's been working very, very closely with Cameron Hill, of course, the son of Colin as well. But through the final turn, down the main straight, a dominant way to start the weekend for Thomas Sargent. He won the Victorian Championship round just before this as well and continues that trend. The Victorian gets the job done in race 1 of the weekend for the Formula Fords, the Australian Formula Ford Championship at Sydney Motorsport Park. Cody Bircher, the man from Orange in the Tyre Power Orange. Car number 36 was second spot. Jude Bargwanna and Cody Donald there completing the top 4 at the end of the opening race of the weekend for the Australian Formula Ford Championship. But let's catch up with Thomas Sargent, your winner from race number 1.
Thank you. Yeah, it's made a really good start, which always helps. Got to the lead, got a bit of a gap, and then maintained it from there. So really happy with that race.
It ended up being a clean sweep of the weekend for Thomas Sargent. 3 races, 3 race wins. He leads the championship on 61 points. Cody Bircher second on 48. Jude Bargwanna completing the top 3 on 42 points as well. Cody Donald and Noah Sands completing the top 5. And for the Kent class, Mitch Gattenby leading it on 48 points there as well. So a nice job for him. Now coming up next, we've got the fantastic Formula 3 cars. The Australian Formula 3 Championship, believe it or not, the interesting stat for this class, their practice session was the first session in 487 days, believe it or not. It's been a long wait. Finally, the Formula 3 cars are back on track. We're looking forward to their opening round here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
The youngest rookie in the field, Ben Taylor, just turned 17. What's it like racing these Formula 3s?
They're pretty different to a go-kart. They got wings, gears, bigger tyres, you know, a whole bigger car in general. They're a lot faster than a go-kart than I'm used to, and the corner speeds are a lot quicker, and the G-forces are pretty big as well compared to a go-kart. The demandings of the car are high, you know. It takes a lot of guts to go through these corners at this speed and brake pretty much everywhere at a 50-metre board, so yeah.
An incredible job by the rookie. A 125.58 was 0.4 of a second quicker than 99 Motorsports' Ryan Astley for the opening race of the weekend. Of course, Ben Taylor, interestingly enough, he's come straight out of karts and into Formula 3. So talk about a change in difference from karting to F3. You couldn't get almost 2 different ends of the spectrum, Wade Ornger.
These are thoroughbred race cars, make no mistake about that. This formula as well, if you pardon the expression, is popular throughout the world and is seen as a stepping stone towards Formula 1, Formula 3, Formula 2, etc. Jarrett Ruff on board with him, the Ruff Racing entry. Here on the grid at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's round 1 of the Australian Formula 3 Championship and a stall on the front line. That's heartbreaking. Oh, wow. Ryan Astley. Now he gets it off the line. Oh, that's heartbreaking. You put it on the front row, and he will not catch this field unless it's a safety car.
Yeah, disappointment there as well. Look at Ruff, if you don't mind. What a start here from Ruff. He started 6th on the grid. He's up to 3rd by turn 2 on the opening lap. The green machine already making his way towards the front.
These are a fantastic form of motor racing, no doubt about it, and they will haul the freight around Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a big sweeping circuit. The cars love that. Be extremely quick in a straight line, but it's here through sweeping bends when they really do glue down. The aero works very well, and Formula 3 too has produced some fantastic drivers over the years. I notice that Tim Macro still heavily involved in this sport as well. Another one of the stars of this game.
Speaking of great starts as well, Mitch Nielsen went from 4th to 1st there as well, so he made the most of that lacklustre start for Ryan Astley. So we go back on board now with Astley here as well towards the rear of the field and around the back of Corporate Hill as well, so he'll be frustrated with that start. Of course, doing such a good job after qualifying as well. We'll see how far through this field he can try and make his way.
Well, he's got some clear racetrack to charge with, that's for sure. What a beautiful day for it. Round 1 of the Australian Formula 3 Championship as part of the Magnolia Capital Australian Motor Racing Series, round 1 of 6. And the AMRS heads to Morgan Park in Queensland, April 16 to 18. Nice little battle looming here for the race lead.
Certainly is. They work their way back down into turn number 2. So the 25 car of Ben Taylor, of course, started from that pole spot, now assuming position number 2 right now and trying to work on the back. So here's a replay of the start for Astley, and just look at that. Nowhere, died completely on him. And I tell you what, he was lucky not to get collected by anyone else there as well, as they filed past him on the main straight.
Right at the moment, in his lounge room as he watches this coverage, Ryan will be looking away from the TV going, no. Garrett Ruff.
Whoa!
That's great reflexes. He got off to a ripping start as well, so Rough was hardly his last name on that start. It was very smooth getting around what could have been a real problem. Hey, you know who's coming on as well right now? Mitch Nielsen making a big charge as well.
Doing a great job, isn't he? Out in front at the moment, as we mentioned, from 4th to 1st, but he's got some work cut out on him now because Taylor looking towards the inside here at turn number 1. He'll get the job done as well. So Tim McRoy, racing driver, goes to the lead here in the early stages. It's an opening race of the weekend. Watch that. Oh, look at that dirt on the edge of the racetrack there as well. Down under brakes. Look at the flame out the back there as well. Taylor now retakes that race lead. Nielsen now back to position number 2.
Taylor just ate him alive about halfway down the straightaway. It was almost like Nielsen missed a gear or something because he just ate him alive. Not taking anything away with how quick Taylor is, but look at the way he's gapping him now as well. I wonder, just here, like drafting was superb, but that is a dramatic pass on the inside. Really picked up some speed and nailed him on the inside. They are extremely quick down that straightaway and stuck beautifully in turn 1.
Oh yeah, they certainly do stick, don't they? As we have a look now once again at Rough here into turn number 2. Oh, is that a moment there for Taylor? I think the top of our screen. That turn number 2 looked like he just came back onto the track at a very awkward angle, which suggests that he possibly ran wide. And there he is. He's dropped a lot of time, in fact, back to Rough there in position number 3. So Taylor giving away a strong spot up there inside the top 2. Right on board with Rough now again around the backside of the circuit. So now all of a sudden it's on for that second spot. And forget about Nelson. He's pulled away out in front.
Just watched Roman Krumens earlier. Beautifully turned out car, the number 17. Dare I say it, even looked a little Ferrari-esque in its design. Beautifully turned out car, and Roman sitting around about the top 5 just at the moment.
It's going a bit better than what the Ferraris have at the moment in Formula 1 as well, dating back to 2020 and the season they had. So here we go. This might explain a little bit more of the story here. Taylor in front. Oh, he's got a long way off. Well off the grass down there at turn number 2 and comes back just in front of Rough, but that was a huge moment and he has thrown away a heap of time.
I was just going to say, it's going to be made to pay for that. There's no doubt about that. That's just brutal. I guess if you're going to do it, you do it where there's the most amount of runoff if you had to, but there is Krumens on board right now. Beautifully turned out 17 car. Just a perfect day for it at Sydney Motorsport Park, and cool to see Formula 3 racing still alive and rocking the house here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
So Krumens reigning national class champion as well as in total 3-time champion of that particular class as well. He appeared to struggle a little bit in the early part of the weekend, but the pace seems to be a lot better now for that car as he works his way in amongst this battle for the top few spots as we ride back on board here with Rough around the backside of the circuit through Corporate Hill. Now down into the tight right-hander as well. Bit of space between the two of them right now. Probably a little bit far back at the moment for that slipstream effect as they go down the main straight.
And Brian, we're talking about Ray Yuyang before as well with his Dallara. A fair bit of history involved in that race car.
Yeah, exactly. So he's actually driving a car that hasn't lost since 2018 because John Magro did a tremendous job in the 2019 series. A record-breaking streak of 18 races he had, believe it or not. So not quite up towards the top of the moment, that car, but certainly does have a lot of history in this category.
Have a look at this. We're talking about a very big close-in just here. Got to be careful. We're into the final lap. Taylor's starting to come back now, Brian.
Certainly is. Out in front, though, Mitch Nielsen is doing a tremendous job. Keeping in mind, this guy's had a lot of experience even overseas towards the start and the latter end of 2019 because he competed in the LMP2 class, the Inter-Europol, the opening 2 rounds, the Asia Le Mans Series, and Taylor. Goodness me, he's had a shocker, hasn't he? Went off the road at turn number 2. Now a mistake at the hairpin, and don't tell me you stalled it as well.
Oh, and he was coming. He was absolutely on the hammer, and I think he just pushed a little too hard, and that allowed him off the hook. Well done. Consistency for Nielsen is what will do the job, but Taylor will be very disappointed because he was coming. I don't know that he would have had anything necessarily in that last half a lap, but proves you can bag up an F3 pretty well.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Rough will come across the line and collect second in the end in that green machine. So a nice job for him. Krumens, he'll hold on for that. How's Rough? He is stoked there. He got the thumbs up and all. He is a happy man. And here's a replay of Taylor. So he's closing in on the race leader with albeit a quarter of a lap to go. Just loses the rear end of the race car. Around he goes, lights it up. A bit of yellow smoke there as well as he collects the curb. Flick spins it around and then stalls it and loses yet more time. Not doing those rear tyres any favours, that's for sure.
Oh man, you'd just be so disappointed. Let's look at your results.
So a great drive for Mitch Nielsen, gets the job done. Rough home in second, Crummins in third, Ben Taylor and Ryan Astley in the end, completing your top 5.
No, it wasn't all smooth sailing. I missed a gear. I hit a false neutral coming onto the straight in the second lap, and Max got me down the straight, and I thought I had it all to do again, but he ran wide, and I managed to get him back, and it was just holding that gap for the rest of the race.
So by virtue of winning the feature race for the weekend, Ben Taylor got the round win on 42 points. Max Demerick, the Artec Motorsport driver, was second. Mitch Nielsen, Ryan Astley and Garrett Ruff in the end, completing the top 5 overall for the weekend. So a tremendous drive in the end for Ben Taylor after those mistakes that we saw in the opening race of the weekend. Of course, don't forget as well, the next round of the Australian Formula 3 Championship will be at Morgan Park Raceway, April 16 to 18. That's sure to shake up the field as we work our way through season 2021. Now, don't forget, coming up next, as part of the opening round of the AMRS series, we've got the 4-hour Enduro for the Prodsports and Super GT, the Under Lights Enduro.